structural approach. As the name itself gives the indication of the meaning, it is related to structures. The language is made of different things: speech and sounds, then comes phonemes, then words, then phrases and sentences, then literal meaning of phrases and sentences, then meaning in context of discourse. So all this is related to the science and part of linguistics. It is called phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So we will be dealing with the section of language that is syntax, means the structure of language, how the words, phrases, and sentences are used to make meaningful sentences. Okay, so it is syntax. So structural approach. So what is the approach? What are the principles? What are the activities done in this approach? And how we look at the language in structural approach? How we look at the language? I told you, approach means how you look at the language. It is not a method of teaching. So structural approach can be adopted in direct method. Structural approach can be adopted in grammar translation method. Okay. Yes. So this is just a view how you look at something. So we look at language as if it is made of structures. So this is the view of structural approach. What is the meaning? In this approach, learners are expected to learn some selected structures. If you are in the first grade, you learn some structures. If you are in the second grade, third grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, if you are in the 10th grade, means 10th standard, you learn certain structures. If you are in the lower grade, you will be learning easier structures. And if you are in the upper grade, you will be learning more complex structures. So structural approach is basically, it is a scientific study of the fundamental structure of any language. Here we are talking about English language. It analyzes it and logically arranges the structures. Logical arrangement of the structures, right? So this approach itself employs a technique of direct method of teaching. Now, what is the technique of direct method of teaching? Speech is mainly stressed. So here the teacher is concentrating on repeating the structures, speaking the structures. Students are repeating the structures in the spoken form. So in the structural approach, speech is stressed. Then reading and writing comes. So as I told you, structural approach is not a method in the strict sense of term. It is an approach, it is a technique, it is a device, whatever you use the word, but it is not a method. It can be used under the umbrella of any method. It is a way to teaching the grammar topics. It is a traditional method. So it is in fact the situational approach of language teaching. So you have first time heard the word situational approach. Now what is situational approach? Anyone know what is situation? What is situation? There are plenty of situations in which we use a language. For example, inquiring about a ticket at railway station, booking an appointment with a doctor, asking questions to the teacher, going for a shopping and a shopping, talking in a telephone with a relative. So language use is full of situations, lots of situations, demanding something. So it is a way of teaching a language. In fact, situational approach means you are teaching the language content through different situations, as I gave you the examples. And different structures are taught concentrating on the situation. For example, if you are want to teach about a blackboard or something related to blackboard, you can use a different structure, different sentences related to blackboard, right? For example, the size of the blackboard is this and that. The color of the blackboard is black. Uh, Write something on the blackboard. Rub out something on the blackboard. Draw something on the blackboard. Copy whatever written is on the blackboard. So you are using the situation, the device in the context, and you are teaching the word indirectly, teaching the language indirectly. So structural approach is also called SOS approach. Now, what is the meaning of SOS? S means structural, O means oral, means you speak, oral, and situational. You teach structures in the context of different situations. It was taken as alternative method of direct method of teaching English. The basic assumption is that language can be learned through a scientific selection and gradation of structural patterns of sentences and vocabulary. So we should teach sentences and vocabulary by carefully selecting words and by carefully arranging these words. For example, you will find simple sentences and simple vocabulary in the 5th standard compared to 10th standard, isn't it? You will find
Yes.
simple patterns of sentences in the 5th standard compared to 10th standard. Why? Because it is scientifically selected. Now, what is scientific selection of the words and sentences? You feel that these are the words and sentences are most often used in day-to-day life. These are very common words. These words will help in future learning. These words and sentences are very common in use. These words and sentences are very easy to learn. So this is the criteria, the simplicity, right? The utility. These are the criteria through which words are selected, sentences are selected, the structure is selected for each grade, right? So this is the assumption behind the structural approach. It is based on the belief that if you want to learn a language, you should be master of structures. Now, what is the meaning of master of structures? Means you should be able to create sentences correctly using different structures. It is told that there are more than 275 structures. How many? And we believe that there are basically 3,000 words that any student should learn in his if he want to learn English language. Basic 3,000 words. So these 275 structures will be arranged scientifically, logically, from easy to complex. These 3,000 words will be divided to different standards. So what is the main belief is if you want to learn a foreign language, you should get mastery of the structures, right? It is more important than just learning the words. Now, if you learn many words and if you don't know how to arrange these words, Can you make a sentence? Tell me. That's why structural approach believes that we should teach the students not only the vocabulary but also the structure in which they will fit the words into correct sentences. Sentences may be very short, subject and verb. The boy plays. It can be subject plus verb plus object. John kicks the ball. It can be subject plus verb plus adverb. The boy ran quickly. It can be subject plus verb plus adjective. The girl is pretty. It can be subject plus verb plus a noun. The boy is a student. Now, these are the only five structures. You see, people believe that there are more than 275 basic structures in English language. Okay. So the approach believes that if you want to learn a language, you should get mastery over the structures, different types of structures. The beginning point of learning any language or teaching a language should be the grammar, the basic structure. Structure is indirectly related to grammar. The syllabus is built on different structures. The syllabus is built on different hmm, structures. Yes. We have the prose and poems and everything in the textbook, but the concentration is on the structures that is hidden in the content. You know, when I was studying in the primary schools and secondary schools, I have gone through structural syllabus. I will show you. I will share a lesson in our group how a structural syllabus lesson can be. You know, we were under the grammar translation method, and the syllabus was structural approach. It will be interesting for you to see the chapter, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I have the textbook with me. I don't know if it is at the college or here. I will try to share the chapter, and you will be happy to see that I have studied through structural approach, right? And you have not studied through structural approach, you have studied through communicative approach, functional approach, right? What is your approach? You have studied through
Functional.
functional approach, right? So language is viewed as it is full of structures. The structure is full of syllables, words, and if you make proper sentence, there will be meaning of a sentence. And if you repeat the structures daily, repeatedly, you will learn the structure and it will be a habit for you, right? It will be a habit for you to use subject, verb, object, subject, verb, complement, subject, verb, direct object, indirect object, subject, verb, to infinitive, whatever it is. There are thousands, I told you as a more than 200 structures, right? You can Charles Fries and Robert Lado suggested structural approach in 1950s. It is also known as new approach. It is also known as oral approach. Now, what is the meaning of oral? Oral means to speak, and oral means to listen. AURL means to listen. Now, what is the meaning of SOS? You listen the structures, then you repeat the structures. That's why it is called oral approach. Now, difference in pronunciation, right? Oral, oral. Okay. Now, SOS means structural, oral, situational approach. That was the other name is also given SOS approach. In India, this approach was started by Jean Forrester, who was the part of the massive Madras ALT campaign. Now, I want to give you some information about Madras ALT campaign. Now, what is, you know, the old name of the state? One of the name of the state of India was Madras in 1959. English language was introduced from the fifth standard. right? English language was started to be introduced from the fifth standard in schools, and there are some teachers who need the training of teaching through this approach, right? So Madras ELT campaign was it trained almost more than 25 teachers, 25,000 teachers. That how should they teach English language? It was a great campaign of training the teachers how to teach using the SOS approach. So, discussing after the discussion of the concept, you can easily be clear about the characteristics of the approach. The main objective of the approach is students should get command over the patterns, the structures. You can see the structures. Yes. Can you see the structures as I give you the examples? They are the patterns. So students should get command over these patterns, and slowly they will be able to get command over the language. It fills the oral approach. Now what happens? What they hear, they speak. You know, our parents repeatedly spoke many sentences. It was indirectly they are teaching us the structure, isn't it? Now it is important that the approach will be successful only if you select and grade the words and structures properly, right? If you have to arrange the structures and vocabulary, if you fail in that, approach will not be successful. Now, what are the criteria? As I told you, usefulness, productivity, simplicity, teachability. These are different criteria. Simple structures come first, complex then, useful structures come first. The structures which will be helpful to produce new structures will be taught first. The structures which are easy to teach will be taught first, right? The structure which are difficult to teach will be taught later. So these are the criteria of selecting and grading the material. The approach thinks about the different features of language. First feature is word order. Now you very well know if we change the word order, the meaning of the sentence changes. Yes or no? So this is the particular feature of English language. Now, if you change the order of words in Sanskrit language, you know that meaning will not change. But can you change the order of words in English language? No. Yes. Ram killed a snake. Now, if you change a snake killed Ram, totally changes the meaning, right? Then the presence of function words. Now, what are the functions words? Can you tell me? What are the function words? Function words are the words that help you join content words. There are nouns, pronouns, etc. is there, but how? Preposition is a function word. It helps you. Helping verbs, right? These are function words. So they are very important. Even articles, prepositions, these are function words. Then the use of a few inflections. This is the important feature of English language because one word can be changed into noun, pronoun, adjectives, right? You know that there are inflections of words. You know this. Different versions of a verb. So English language, this is the beauty of the language. One verb with different forms can indicate different what we call tenses, right? So this is the criteria that how you will select the pattern, the as I discussed, the vocabulary, firstly usefulness, as I told you, the structure which are very much more useful will be taught first, then productivity. Some structures are productive, means it help you build more new structures, right? Then simplicity, then teachability. Then frequency. In our life, some structures are frequently used, so they should be taught first, right? Some structures are applicable in many situations. It is called the coverage and range, right? So it should be used. Means, you see, some words in our life are useful in many situations, isn't it? Yes,
Yes,
many situations, right? So these words should be taught first. Some words they are easy to learn should be taught first. Some structures where are easy to learn should be taught first, right? So these are the characteristics, features. Grammar and composition is also linked with the reading lesson. See, how is the lesson? Grammar is taught informally because structures are taught. Students will indirectly learn the grammar through structures. So it is indirect way of teaching the grammar. It is not formal teaching like grammar translation method. The unit of teaching is the structure. In grammar translation method, unit of teaching was a word. In direct method, unit of teaching was a sentence. But in structural approach, unit of teaching should be a structure. Now the important word is oral drill is done. Now what is oral drill? Can you tell me what is drill? This is very interesting topic. Do you know what is drill?
exercise.
One type of exercise. Very good. Now, if you see a military drill, the soldiers are following the command perfectly and repeatedly. Yes, they are doing the positions, the postures repeatedly. Yes or no? In a drill.
Yes,
So, in the field of classroom teaching, when a structure is introduced, you are doing the same thing again and again. So, it is called drilling. I can explain you the drilling exercise with some interesting examples. Do you want to see it? You know, there are many kinds of drill. Can you see this? Yes. Hello.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, first is repetition drill. Now, what is the repetition drill? The teacher speaks a sentence and students repeat it. For example, it didn't rain, so I needn't have taken my umbrella. Students copy it and repeat it. So, what is it called? What is it called?
Repetition. Repetition drill.
Yes.
Drill.
Now, second type of drill is substitution drill. Now, what is the meaning of substitution? Means teacher speaks a word and students are told to replace a word or some structure or some vocabulary item. Replace one single word or some items, some phrases. For example, teacher says, I go to school. Then teacher says, he. So students will, what will the student do? They will replace I with
He.
he. So when you replace, it is called substitution. In sports, when you replace a player, it is called substitution. Yes.
Yes.
So you remember, second type of drill is substitution drill. You replace the words. You know that there is a box, there is a table in which you can replace words and make many sentences. So it is substitution table. What is the meaning of that? Substitution table. Then there is third type is question answer drill. Means teacher asks a question, students say yes or no or answer it. Does he go to school? Yes, he does. No, no, he doesn't. Then transformation drill. Transformation exercises very well. Positive to negative, complex to simple, direct to indirect, active to passive. Yes, you know this.
Yes.
That is called transformation drill. For example, if there is positive to negative transformation, I clean the house, I don't clean the house. She sings a song. She doesn't sing a song. So what is that type of drill? What is type of drill?
Transformation.
Transformation.
Yes. Now there is chain drill. Now you know the meaning of chain.
Connect.
Teacher, yes, teacher asks a question, students answer, then there will be a chain of sentences asking and answering the questions. The first student asks the question to the second student asks the question to the third student. So the chain goes on, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What is the color of the sky? The color of the sky is blue. Now the other student A will ask, what is the color of banana? Then he will answer, the color of banana is yellow. Now he will ask a question to student B. What is the color of leaf? The student B will answer, the color of leaf is green. Now student B will ask a question to student C. What is the color of our eyes? The color of our eyes is black and white. So the chain of sentences will go on. It depends on the creativity of the teacher, what he can do in such exercises. You know, drilling exercise is basic in structural approach. Now, because drilling helps you uh, get mastery over the structure. Yes, isn't it?
Yes.
The sixth type is expansion drill. Now, what is expansion? Means you are adding the sentences to the one sentence. For example, teacher says expansion, you know, you are extending the sentence. My mother is a doctor. Student says my mother is a doctor. She works in the hospital. Student says she works in the hospital. Now what happens? Two sentences are spoken. My mother is a doctor. She works in the hospital. Students repeat. My mother is a doctor. She works in the hospital. Then we add the third sentence, fourth sentence. So we are expanding the. You know, we can teach essay through this, isn't it? We can describe a situation. We can describe a picture, isn't it? Hello.
Yes.
Then the seventh type is communication drill. You teach the students to communicate, to use the language. The information gap activities help you communicate, right? For example, there is guessing game. What is the name of the game? Guessing game, right? Teacher has something in mind, maybe something or some dog, some event, some festival, whatever. Student must guess what is the thing. You know, we do this in dumb fellas, yes, guessing game.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So students will try to find the answer. The students will try to communicate with the teacher. Is it in the class? Teacher say yes, it is. Is it blue? Teacher say no, it is not blue. Is it black? Yes, it is black. It is eatable. No, it is not eatable. Now this is how the communication gap goes on. This is the communication grill. Now, isn't this interesting, right? Isn't this interesting? You found this,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
drilling exercise is very important. Oral drill is done. Meaningful situations are created. As I told you, situations are created in which teaching aids may be used. Charts, pictures can be used. You know, you present a picture of a garden. You can do plenty of sentences, exercises using this. Right? So it stresses on oral and oral both. Habit formation is stress. Carefully selected and graded structure is given. As I told you, carefully selected and graded. You know this? Carefully selected and graded structure. You are clear about this? Selection and grading of structures. You are clear about this?
Yes, sir.
I want to give you some examples. How you select structures, how you select vocabulary, and how you grade means you arrange. For example, phonetic grouping. Phonetic grouping means the words that sound similar, cat, rat, mat, like lexical grouping means the words that are related to some situation. For example, it is a Diwali. the words will be related to Diwali. You group the words related to. Then grammatical grouping. The pattern of sentences similar should be taught together, right? As I told you, subject, verb, object, subject, verb, noun, subject, verb, any other word. So these are related patterns. Semantic groupings. Words having similar meaning should be grouped together. Means synonyms, some associative words. Then structure grouping, selecting items that fit for each other, right? So sequencing, grammatical sequencing, semantic sequencing, lexical sequencing, right? There are also patterns, two-word pattern, three-word pattern, four-word pattern, five-word pattern. This is how you go. This is how you arrange. Also, sentence patterns means statements, imperative sentences, then you teach what we call negative sentences, then you teach interrogative sentences. So these are the order in which you teach something, right? So now you are clear about selection and grading of structure and language material.
Yes, sir.
So it creates interest and motivation in the pupil. If it is graded and selected, it is up to the level of the students, so it will be interesting for him, right? Oral work emphasizes also it emphasizes reading and writing. Students get mastery over the structure pattern. Grammar is taught informally, so indirectly they learn the language. So how the approach is good for us? Is it okay if I take 5 minutes more?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But
So
it's
what
okay,
is the
sir.
merit? It helps learn English language by structure. The structural patterns and lot of practice gives mastery, right? Mastery over the structure, the language, the grammar, word order, correctness comes, or errors will not be there. It is also based on scientific principles because it starts from listening, then speaking, then reading, then writing. Habit is developed. So there is the problem of fluency can also be a little bit removed, right? Because drilling helps you be confident in teaching in using language, because you have done the drilling exercise, you are confident in using the language. They use the word accurately, perfectly, more than 275 structures they learn, more than 3000 words they learn, so they can easily communicate in their day-to-day life without mistakes, right? But what are the demerits? Textbooks are very difficult to create, and prose, poetry may not be helpful, literature may not be helpful. New content has to be created for the structure. Ready-made poems and ready-made the author written parts will not be useful. Prose. You have to create. Now, if you want to teach a structure, you have to create the content. Yes or no? You understand the higher class. We cannot teach structures, repetition, drilling, mechanical drilling to higher class. It will not be interesting for them, right? They need creativity. Sometimes students don't learn grammar, they just learn the structures. They don't know why this is and how this is, isn't it? They are only learning the structure, but not the logic behind the structure, the grammatical relations, right? So, teaching may become difficult for the teacher. If learner is good to remember the structure, he will be successful. And if the learner is somewhat weak, he will not learn the language. It is difficult for the teacher every time to do this type of exercise. It may not be interesting for the students because continuous teaching of structures and drillings makes the class mechanical, dull. So only for junior class it is okay, but for the higher class this is not okay. This is the approach is also not concentrating on reading of all the types, vocabulary expansion, exploitation of people's knowledge. Means you are not using the knowledge of mother tongue. You are not using this the knowledge of the students, right? So it is very difficult to produce such reading material. Very difficult to implement in overcrowded class. If there are too many students, it will be discipline problems in Indian schools, right? Meaning is not given importance, only structure is given importance. That's why students learn the structures. They may not learn the meaning, they may not learn the exact grammar. We are not using students' mother tongue. This approach requires good teachers who have command over structures, who have uh, a good amount of vocabulary. Because if the teacher is good, then he can do the practice. Otherwise, not possible. It will not help cover the whole syllabus. These are the examples, as I told you. Substitution drills, pronunciation and drilling is the main exercise in structural approach. Right? Different types of drills are done. That's what